I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
What's that make us?
Absolutely nothing.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Mediocre Movie Majors.
I'm Katherine.
And I'm Ryder.
And
but you know that because this is a late episode in the series.
Maybe you're just joining now for the first time.
Why
and
would
you're
they?
like, who are these two beautiful
Where do
people?
we advertise this anywhere?
Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. Anyways, we've got a lot to talk about this week because we haven't really, caught up with you guys in a minute. It's been a while since we sat down and, talked about movies. So we thought we'll give you guys a little treat. We'll sit in front of the green screen. Anyways, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yes, I think we should just dive in.
I think we should just dive in.
This is really a long episode.
But like, comment, subscribe if you want more, if you like our faces.
Or if you just want to hear us go back to normal, like, comment, and subscribe too. We'll do either.
If you think we're not cut out for this.
If, as my dad would say, I got a face for radio. First movie on the list is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I
always thought this movie was Herbie Lovebug. Because I guess one time when I was a kid, we were going to watch this, but it didn't work, so we just watched Herbie Lovebug instead.
So they got intertwined in your brain.
Yeah, because
I was really confused about...
I thought this would be more about a movie about a car and, a girl who was, wants to race, and... No, it's not about that. It's about a kooky, quirky inventor, and...
Hereticus Potts.
And he's, tells his kid a story on the beach.
So, this was one of my absolute favorite movies growing up as a child, and I feel like once you... Have you seen this movie, or we'll explain it to you, you will understand why I am the way that I am and why I like the media that I like.
It's a musical.
It's a British musical starring Dick Van Dyke. It makes absolutely no sense because half of it is real and half of it is literally just a fantasy retelling of a story.
Literally, it's just the kids saying, "Father, can you tell us a story, please?" And then their dad just is like, "Okay, wait, what's that?" And then the whole rest of the movie happens.
Yeah, as a kid, I never picked up on that, and I thought that was also just part of it. So, I think I rewatched this a little bit ago, and I realized, so I was ready for it, but it definitely was jarring.
It's just
growing up and realizing.
I get why they would do that to make a film a little bit more quirky, but it's pace wise, they do it more than halfway through the film.
Because you think the film is setting up something, and then it's really just setting up.
It's setting up
driving
nothing.
to the beach to tell the story of a mystical land where kids are not allowed, and there is the child catcher who is the scariest person on the planet. But anyways,
it's such a confusing movie, but I guess it makes sense that they would make something like this because
it's a 60s film.
It's a 60s
they're
film.
having fun with it.
I kind of describe this the perfect review. It's like the Mario 2 of movies. It's
what does that mean?
Well, Mario 2, as I'm sure you know, loyal viewer at home, takes place in Mario's dream.
Oh, the whole game is a dream.
Yep. This is exactly that. And now, it doesn't mean it's a bad experience, but it is a bit of a waste of time.
I feel like I was always taught as a kid that he woke up from a dream storyline of ending a story was kind of a lazy.
Yeah, I think that having a film that ends with "it was all a dream" can be very effective, like Wizard of Oz. Honestly, probably the best example. But if that film isn't surreal and dreamlike in every aspect, it's a hard sell. This was a little bit too grounded in reality. It wasn't just this is a story. You could believe those were the actual events if you were a child.
Yeah.
Which to me is a little bit too pick a lane.
But they do.
At the end, I know they come back.
The car flies away at the very end.
Yeah.
So it's they have their little Grease moment.
That I think is just a fun goof.
A fun goof and a fun gag. Yeah, this film kind of sets itself up to be
it's
a
very fun,
serious,
goofy, gaffy movie though.
Serious film. Kind of, with that
it sets
whole
itself
opening
up,
with the car and the
It sets itself up to be more of a Harry Potter. Oh yeah, well the opening credits, I completely forgot.
Yeah.
It opens with this backstory of the car, which who cares
Well,
genuinely?
if you guys were wondering what Chitty Chitty Bang Bang means, it's the name of the car.
Because that's the sound
basically-
the engine makes when it spits exhaust out into the atmosphere.
Bang bang. Basically, it's like the story of this car that's this really old race car that gets then like refurbished by an inventor, Mr. Karaticus Potts,
Professor
and it
Karaticus
becomes
Potts.
like the main kind of character in a way of this story.
It doesn't even talk though.
No,
Unlike
but
Herbie
it
Lovebug.
does talk. It says Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
That's not talking. That's the engine. just-
Wait, does Herbie talk?
Yeah. Herbie Lovebug is like the talking car. It's like the whole thing. Right back me. I haven't seen this movie since I was like 4.
I've never seen that with Lindsay Lohan.
With Lindsay Lohan.
No,
You love
I've
Lindsay
seen-
Lohan.
I do love Lindsay. It's honestly surprising I haven't seen that because
That's crazy.
I do love
But
Lindsay.
I'm sure we'll get to both
Yeah,
of these at some
yeah.
point. So for that reason, 3.5 bags.
I give it 5 bags because I simply couldn't rate the movie of my childhood any less than this. It's not necessarily perfect, but it is perfect to me.
It's like a hipster's Mary Poppins.
It is. I really always truly thought that the girl that played Truly should have been Julie Andrews, but
I
unfortunately
did like the names
it's
a
not.
lot. The names
The
were very
names,
fun.
I mean, Truly Scrumptious as the daughter, the heir to the Scrumptious Sugar Factory. That's genius. And she is truly scrumptious. Karaticus Potts. I don't even know what the other people's names were, but they all had great names.
They all had very
The
fun names.
music was great. The songs, the dancing, the set, decoration, everything about it was so perfectly late 60s musical experience. If you haven't seen this, watch it. You probably would have liked it more if you were a child, but it's, it is what it is.
I feel like, I would have liked this more as a kid, but as an adult, it's fine. 3.5 bags.
5 bags all the way.
So, next up, we got some stand-up improv. I know, I don't think that counts as cinema either, but we watched it. Middleditch Schwartz!
Woo!
From the Sonic movie and from
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec in Silicon Valley.
You know them. You love them. Thomas Middleditch and Ben Schwartz. I didn't know we were going to review. Okay, so basically, first of all, it's a comedy special that's broken up into 3 parts.
And I feel like we just watched the first part.
I've seen all 3 parts.
Well, I watched the first part, and the gimmick is that like they go like, "Hey, you, what's your name? What's your story? Why you're here?" And then they make a show based around that.
Oh, and it's a completely improv story. It's just the 2 of them, a couple of chairs, and they get a story from the audience and they tell a story based on it.
Now, I like improv just as much as the next guy.
We lived in Brooklyn.
We lived in Brooklyn, but I do think improv is kind of like playing Dungeons and Dragons without the Dungeons and Dragons. So take that with a grain of salt. I think it was funny. I think it was like, oh yeah, these guys have potential here. They're funny guys, but it's like
They are.
I feel
funny
like they
guys.
could do better things with their funny capabilities than just showing how like witty and off the cuff they can be, which is like I know is a good skill and it's funny for improv, but improv again just feels like freeform jazz. It's like dicking around. It's not something
for
I would
every
hate.
occasion, but I think it is
Yeah.
fun to see these guys who we are so used to seeing do
Like
very
characters,
scripted
yeah.
stuff. Kind of just.
It's fun
bounce
to
off
see
of
their
each
sense of
other,
humor.
and I think they really work well together in this sense. I think I wouldn't watch just any pair of people do this, but
Really? I would.
but they do I think a really fun job of like
I would say
telling
this-
the story, doing the characters.
I think in terms of like genuine, honest critique, my only thoughts is that this would have been so much better as an animation. A million, even like a rough like YouTube story time. Bug.
Ugh.
Okay, I got spray. Where'd it go?
He's right there.
Alright, he's probably gonna move and I'm gonna keep spraying him. You ready?
Okay.
You could get something to stop him.
Okay.
So flipper. He went under.
Oh. Is it dead?
It's gonna take a second to kill it.
Where is he?
Into the bag.
In the bag?
Yep. I see it. Should I grab the raid?
Should I turn these recordings off?
Yeah, but keep watching on it. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Right.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna spray his ass. You saw two?
No.
You fucker! Sorry. And we're back.
And we're back.
So that was like roughly the world's biggest cockroach I've ever seen. I've killed mice that have been smaller than that. Just one of the many joys of living in New York is that you get to see little fellas come into your apartment, spice up your recording session, and just make you really question why you pay so much to live here. That's why I gave Middleditch and Schwartz 3.5 bags.
I didn't rate it for some reason, but I would give it 5.
Okay.
Anyways, we should just move on. I'm done talking about that.
Mel Brooks's Spaceballs.
I've been really on a Mel Brooks kick. Ever since I found out that Mel Brooks and Mel Gibson are not the same person.
Wait till I introduce you to Mel Gibson movies, because you're going to be like, oh, these aren't bad. Spaceballs is a funny movie that has really good comedy bits. What are your favorite jokes? This is the first time you've ever seen it.
This is the first time I've ever seen Spaceballs, surprisingly, because I grew up in a Star Wars household. But I guess also it sort of makes sense, because we were like OG Star Wars fans.
Yeah, but this is a very, like, making fun of Star Wars
so
before it was
saying.
cool to make fun of Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is before the prequels came out and everyone thought it was, like, fun to hate on them.
There was a lot of fun gags and goofs. I liked when Princess Leia took off her headphones, or, like, her
little
earmuffs.
Yeah.
I don't know why that one really stuck with me.
And some of my favorite gags are when they watch the movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's, like, the funniest
I
gag.
love when they do stuff like that in a movie.
That's so good. Like, they don't know where they went, so they watch the movie to find out where they're...
May the Schwartz be with you.
Oh, of course. Merchandising!
That's just so good.
It's just funny. It's self-aware. It's funny.
Yeah.
And Mel Brooks plays Yogurt and the president. This guy.
President Scroob.
Yeah. So that's a 5-bagger by default. What'd you give it?
I gave it 4 bags. I thought it was really fun. I think if you're a fan of the OG Star Wars movies,
Or if you like Mel Brooks' comedy
get the
style.
comedy. You know, it's fun. It's a goofy gag.
This one I think is one of his most accessible films, right next to like Young Frankenstein. You know, like this is one of those you don't need to know Mel Brooks really. You can just put it on and it's like, oh, that's a funny parody movie.
This is funny. Yeah, it's a parody movie. That's exactly what it is. It
But
does the job.
It's a fun movie.
A parody movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about it. I don't think there's really...
There's not much to say. Like, it's funny. Like, it's a spoof on Star Wars. At this point, it feels like that concept is overdone, but I don't think when this movie came out, it was an overdone concept.
No, 1987.
Yeah.
1987. They had, like, the first 2. I don't even know if they had the third one to go off of yet.
Yeah, like...
Like, they really were just, like...
Well...
Pizza the Hut.
It was fun.
But it was good. I loved it. I thought,
good.
like, it was such a good movie. 5 bags.
Yes.
So...
Talk about stinker of the week.
I don't even know. Is this...
Stop!
Yeah.
I just looked at the poster and I forgot that Jeff from Community is even in this.
So,
Holy.
if you're wondering what she's referring to, did you know they made a 4th Spy Kids movie?
You might have seen the commercials for this movie. I remember being obsessed with the commercials for this movie because it was a big thing. It was the 4D movie version of this. I never got to see it in the movie theater. I don't know why. I feel like that is the only acceptable way to have viewed this movie, and even then, the movie is bad.
I don't even know how we streamed this, but we did.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, of course it is. And
Do you want to tell them what it is?
yeah, so Spy Kids 4 all time in the world is like the 2011 reboot, kind of, sorta, where they have the old Spy Kids who are grown up now make little cameos, but it's more about a new family, and there's plot that happens, and it's made by the same guy. It's directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He did this.
It's really not good, guys. It's really
so
not
bad.
good.
Like, it's not funny bad. It's just like, why did this get made?
It didn't need to be made. And the plot of Spy Kids 4 is you've got Jessica Alba, who is a slay queen. She is both a spy and pregnant. Does she even have the baby? I'm not even sure. I think she has the baby in the beginning of the movie, actually, now that I'm saying this out loud.
Yeah, because the first scene, she's like pregnant.
Yeah. But she's a spy, an undercover spy, and a mother, and she's married to Jeff from Community, and he is a spy hunter.
Jeff from Community was in Spider-Man 2, and if you don't believe me, he's the bank teller where Aunt May is trying to get a loan.
Oh, I feel like I remember that now because we were like, Jeff from Community.
Jeff from Community.
Yeah.
He's always a fucking banker, seedy motherfucker.
Anyways, he is a spy hunter, obviously not very good at his job, and like, that's kind of the gag of it, where they're like, oh, he hasn't caught any spies. Spy hunter is not a real job. Not even in the Spy Kids universe is there a spy hunter.
Yeah, it's like, it feels like he's more like a public access, like, personality.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Anyways,
sorry. A spy hunter would just be like a government employee, right? 'Cause spies are stealing, like, government information.
I don't know.
Like, that's what a spy's...
They basically get wrapped up in fighting this bad guy who's messing with time. And they're two annoying, stupid kids are fighting that bad guy. And that's when you get, like, the OG Spy Kids. You get Carmen and Junie.
They really leaned into, like, the kids part of this.
And they are the worst.
And they're just, like...
They're wannabe Carmen and Junie, but, like, not even.
It's like if the Spy Kids weren't spies and they were just regular kids who weren't trained professionals at all. And it's just, like, it's so not what the series is fundamentally.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I mean... You don't go to one of these movies expecting good CGI.
No,
you don't expect something, but you expect it to be a fun time, not just something that's like, oh, I'm gonna be sick.
Yeah,
and it's like, what's that doing?
It first of all pushes it really feels like they're like something I loved about the original Spy Kids movie is that it really promoted like loving your family, but it wasn't like pushed. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? It was like the brother-sister dynamic.
In the later ones, where there's like the cousins.
I'm thinking
and,
like the first and maybe the second one. Okay. I have not seen the third one.
I remember like the third one more than I do the other ones. I'm a Spy Kids 3D.
I'm a Spy Kids originalist. Like at the
well,
first
Spy Kids 3D is great because it's kind of like Ready Player One.
Oh. Now you've got me intrigued.
Come on.
But I think the biggest issue I have with Spy Kids 4 is this clearly was made to be a 4D movie. So there's parts of this movie that when you're just watching it on a TV...
Is it? Okay. You keep saying 4D, and 4D is more than just like they spurt water at you. Like the seats have to vibrate, there has to be wind.
That's why I'm saying, because there's
That's
all
a whole
of these...
ass like construction job. They can't just do that in any movie theater.
No,
this would have been playing at like an amusement park or something.
It's in a 4D movie theater.
Why
are you looking at me like this is real?
4D movie theaters aren't just like around.
That's why like not a lot of people saw this movie.
I get okay, all right. That's why you've never heard of this.
But there's just a lot of moments that like I genuinely think like they were putting their effort into making it a fun experience, and watching it just on a TV is a little bit weird. There's also an absurd amount of not only just like fart jokes, which is like, you know, classic for this kind of kid media, but like a lot of fart jokes, a lot of puke jokes. And every time that they would go anywhere, they'd be in like a plane or a car or something, every single character would be like, I'm gonna be sick. And then they'd be like a whole bit.
I'm piecing it together now. I wonder if there was like smell.
That's what I'm saying.
As part of the 4D.
As the,
like,
the fart jokes.
And the puke.
Yeah.
I think the puke was referenced so much because they were like, oh, it's stinky.
Yeah, no, I'm not even kidding. Like,
That's nasty.
Yeah, but, like, even for this being, like, children's media, for it being, like, silly, just too much. Like, and yes, we're sitting here 23 years old judging the amount of fart jokes in Spy Kids 4, but you know what? Get over it.
I just turned 23. This is what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, everyone say happy birthday, Ryder, and happy birthday, me.
We're same
Because
age.
we're the same age. I'm just like a couple days.
So that I gave a bag and a half.
Yeah, I did also give it a bag and a half.
It doesn't.
Honestly, like, I would have said this would be a fun, like, have a drink with friends watch, but, like, that's what we were doing, and it really still was not that fun.
I wouldn't. There's better movies you could watch.
Every time we tuned back
instead.
into the movie, it was just like, what is even going on?
What are we doing with those?
You know, put on something that has a little bit more substance.
We also watched
I
I
should've
Now
realized.
Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. And this is one of those movies that we did fall... I fell asleep
This is
during.
something that I am really excited to talk about.
I fell
on this
asleep.
podcast.
Careful of the microphone.
Sorry.
I fell asleep a few times during it, but I woke up for the essential parts, and
I was awake for a lot more.
This is one of those that, based on the poster, you'd be like, this is probably going to be one of those really dude, bro, homophobic comedies, but it's actually not. Like, a lot of... Well, I mean, yeah, there is a little bit of it, but surprisingly, there's a lot of scenes where Kevin James and Adam Sandler have to, like, shout off bigots for calling them slurs because they're perceived as gay. And honestly, that's kind of a slay, as white women would say.
We should explain.
Oh, you
anything
should
of
explain
what's
the
going
premise?
on in the film. Anyways, basically, you've got Kevin James and Adam Sandler. Already banger, classic. Okay, they work in a fire department. They're a fire squad. Firefighters, and we're still kind of unsure about what the reasoning is.
Which is
Partly
why
because
when
maybe-
widower Larry, Kevin James, asked Chuck, Adam Sandler, to pose as his gay lover so that he can get domestic partner benefits for his kids, his buddy agrees. So his wife dies, and he basically
needs
asks his
money for
friend
his children
to like help pretend to be gay so he can like afford to raise
and
his
that's
children.
pretty much like the bit of the movie is that there's these two straight
But
guys.
then it gets dicey because there's a bureaucratic guy who comes in and he has to verify that they're gay, and he's played by Steve Buscemi,
I forgot about that.
and it's a whole fun little plot with like they have to like really sell that they're gay,
Yeah.
and it's a very fun movie.
I have a couple of things about this.
I will say there's a random insanely offensive Asian character in this movie.
There's a couple of there's a really fat phobic part of this film.
Yeah.
There's a really like racist part of this film, and we'll talk about if
There's-
it's homophobic or not. But like
There's some
regardless of whether or not
solid
it's-
misses
yeah,
that are just there. Like
if it has hits,
no
there's
matter how
definitely
much
also misses.
no matter how much you fall asleep through, you will see something that's problematic.
Yeah.
And
Like,
so-
it's not a perfect film. It's Adam Sandler and
It's not like the next LGBTQ plus icon,
yeah.
you know. But
Anyways,
it was okay. 3 bags.
a couple of things I would like to say about this film.
Yeah.
The goof and the gag of the whole film is that they're like two straight men.
Not just
having
men,
to-
firefighters, which are like the most like typically like heteromasculine.
Firefighters too, I think.
Like there's a whole plot with how the firefighters are acting differently after they come out as gay, and it's,
yeah. And I think like that, it's a fun take, and I think that like you can tell that like Adam Sandler and Paul Blart, I almost said Kevin Spacey, Kevin James, like really don't have a lot of like hate in who they are as people, but you know I also don't know how many gay friends that they have. You know, that's the vibe I'm getting. And beyond that, this movie came out in 2007, which is a really fun time in culture because bisexual people just like didn't exist. Because there's quite a few moments in this film where like they're freaking out because like he obviously used to be married to a woman and now he's married in quotation marks to Adam Sandler, and it's like, oh my god, like he has like it's this whole bit. It's like,
how does he sell it?
Yeah. That whole entire plot, which happens like a couple of times, could have very, very easily just been like solved in the year of 2023 by being like, I'm bisexual. I like both men and women. Figure that. But that doesn't really exist in this movie. I don't think that that's this movie's fault because that's something that I've noticed a lot in pretty much all of early 2000s into 2010s media. Lack of bisexual representation. But I don't think that this movie was going to be the catalyst for that either. It's
No, this
just
movie
a funny
was just trying to have
dude
fun.
bro movie.
And it wasn't trying to be negative against
Yeah, that's what
gay
I'm saying.
people,
I don't
which is
think
really
it's
like
necessarily negative,
the main
especially...
thing that they did. It's not ultra negative. It just feels misguided.
Yeah, I think that, like, having the character growth of, like, leading up to Adam Sandler calling out people for using the F slur, to show that growth, I don't think they needed to start the movie with Adam Sandler himself using the F slur, you know, because it felt a little bit jarring to me.
How many bags?
I did not rate it, but I guess I would give it a 3 as well.
Yes.
It's very middle of the road for me. I thought it was funny. I did laugh a couple times. I definitely, like, cringed a couple of times as well. So, middle of the road for me. It's Adam Sandler. You get what you're gonna get. It's exactly what you expected.
Yeah. Well, we've been requested, actually, to watch more serious films.
Yeah.
So, I think this next one is a good reflection of that because, like, this is the new Wes Anderson movie,
Yeah.
Asteroid City. And while I'm not a big Wes head, I do think he certainly knows how to make a movie and knows how to capture an image, like a very distinct image. And the setting of his newest film, Asteroid City, really is just the perfect Wes Anderson setting. It's like one of those 1950s radio space operas, and it is just the perfect type of way to sell that, like, hyper teal and, like, center framed bullshit. Like, it's perfect. That's exactly what it would look like in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's...
Yeah, definitely. Regardless of whether or not you personally like Wes Anderson, I think everybody can admit that, like, the man has a style, a very distinct style.
Yeah, but sometimes people call that gimmicky. And I'm not saying I do.
Gimmicky or not, it's a style.
But it is a style.
Yeah.
I do think if you're not a Wes Anderson fan like me, you might be able to appreciate this film maybe more than some of his other ones.
This one feels the most...
It feels the most like warranted.
Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say. It does.
Because the plot being set in, like, the desert around, like, aliens in New Mexico in the 50s is perfect for that center framed, neatly organized, everything's
and
meticulously counted out.
The black and white bits.
Now also, yeah, there's this other half of this film that's spliced in throughout it that tells the plot about the person who's making this play
that we're
watching called Asteroid City. And it's a very interesting sort of meta commentary about creation in the artistic space.
Can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
It was a fun movie. I really liked the CGI effects that they did. It just felt uncanny. That's what I loved about it. The fact that it felt uncanny for something that humans couldn't perceive.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love for Wes Anderson to dive deeper into this existential horror of his. The film literally ends with a kid going, "I don't believe in God anymore."
Yeah.
like,
I've heard about that.
like, there's a whole plot with burying their dead mother and aliens coming to Earth, and the aliens are being on, like, beyond even what we can understand. And I really like dark Wes Anderson.
Can ever comprehend Jeff
I like when
Isn't
Wes.
that true?
Oh my god, I forgot Jeff Goldblum.
I love Jeff Goldblum.
That's one of the funniest Jeff Goldblum cameos.
Yeah. This movie is the Marvel's Avenger Endgame of Wes Anderson funny guys.
So, what did you think about Asteroid City? How many bags?
I gave it 4.5 bags. I thought it was a real classic Wes Anderson. If you're in the mood to watch Wes Anderson, this will scratch that itch.
Absolutely, me too. I couldn't agree more. 4.5. And finally, just moving straight on to the last movie this week.
Van Helsing.
Van Helsing. Now, what even was this movie?
So it's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, 2004. Do you know Van Helsing? Do you know what that is? It's a vampire hunter myth character.
I'm vaguely aware of the myth. Wait, sorry.
Well, this movie is not a good introduction to it because it has
myths?
Frankenstein. It has
Dr. Jekyll.
Dr. Jekyll,
It's
Mr.
got all
Hyde.
of those
It's got
really
like
scary ladies.
the succubus women, and there's like multiple plots going on here. It's got werewolves. Van Helsing is just like a vampire hunter.
Yeah.
Traditionally,
a werewolf. It's kind of giving Twilight.
Vampire
It's
hunter.
like if Twilight was not
It's like if you've only ever
About
seen Twilight.
teenagers.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it's got that blue lighting. It's got
It's
werewolves
green lighting,
and
first off.
vampires.
It's not blue lighting. This is a very different color. I would argue that. This
Okay.
is closer to the
But
Matrix
it's
in
got
terms of that green color.
It's not white. It's not white lighting.
Yeah,
okay?
it has a color grade. Sorry.
It's vampires and werewolves. That's Twilight.
And Frankensteins and demons.
And demons and Van Helsing and Hugh Jackman
And
with
Dr.
little
Jekyll,
fun
Mr.
haircut.
Hyde.
It was good.
It's
Eh.
it's okay. It's honestly the most forgettable movie, and honestly, every time you say the name, I'm like, oh right, that movie does exist. I forgot they made that, and we
Yeah.
just watched it.
The thing about this movie is it serves its purpose as like fun action with CGI bad guys, and it kind of the gimmick of that kind of gets old pretty much after the first scene, and then you realize, oh, that's this entire film.
Yep.
It just keeps going. It's like he goes here, he fights a bad guy. He goes here, he fights a bad guy. He kisses the girl, they walk through the mirror, there's more bad guys. You know, it just kind of, it is what it is. But it's, nobody was asking for it to be anything else, you know? I was maybe hoping for a little bit of a better looking CGI, but for 2004, what you gonna do?
Yeah, it was okay. 2.5 bags.
I give it the solid 2 bags. I don't have much else to say.
I give it
about
the half because it felt very middle of the road, so forgettable that you often forget like 2.5 as an option. You know,
2.5 is technically the half of 5. I always
Yeah.
put 3 when it's
3 it feels more right to be like, yeah, this is like middle of the road, but when it's truly dead middle of the road,
Yeah.
that's just the most forgettable, and it's probably like the worst kind of film.
Yeah, because it's not even it's
not even that it's
even
funny.
fun to watch
It's
because
just more like, oh,
it's
right.
actiony, you know. So but it's got the kind of action that you're not really drawn to it.
It's an okay film, but it's honestly one of those best viewed as a YouTube clips experience.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I'll be like revisiting this one, and I don't really recommend unless you're like a huge Hugh Jackman fan or a huge, I don't even know, like mythical, not even mythical. What is the word for like
Monsters.
Frankenstein?
Monsters.
If you're a huge fan of monsters, check it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
It does the thing. It's fun. There's a
If you
bad
like Hugh
guy.
Jackman with long hair, check it out.
The bad guy is literally like, he reminds me so much of the bad guy from Twilight, like the leader of the Volturi.
That's
All
cool.
I'm saying.
So that's all we got to talk about
That's
for this week.
So come back for part 2.
Yeah, tune back in next week for where we'll pick up off. Just I was tired
yeah.
and continuing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see you back. Thanks for
Thank you
joining.
for watching the Mediocre Movie Majors. That's us. And be sure to comment down below how much of a movie you need to watch in order to give a solid review of it.
I still
give
say
us a
any amount
rating.
is a fair
Check us
share.
out on Apple Podcasts if you don't like to look at us.
Now,
if
what
our
you should-
faces are offensive to you,
Yeah.
you can just listen to the audio versions of this, okay? That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for checking us out. As
Peace.
always, have a great one.